College football imperialism, but this time it's conference versus conference and every single one has 3 lives. I did this last year, but the top comments suggested that I build all-star teams for each conference, so I've put every single all-conference team into NCAA football, and let's just say that some of these teams are loaded. Anyway, how this is going to work is I'm going to spin the wheel of conferences, and then this directional wheel will decide where they're going to end up attacking. So in our example, we have the ACC attacking the American, and the loser of this game will lose one of their conference's 3 lives. This video is going to tell us the best conference in college football, and I'm ready to see our first matchup between these two teams. By the way, whatever college won their conference will be representing them, and to my surprise, the American Conference is keeping up really well with the ACC. That touchdown from Luke McCaffrey ties it up at 28, and it's on Jordan Travis to help them pick up this 3rd and 3, but he handed it off, and their running back, the All-ACC running back, might be gone to the crib. What a play from number 28. I'm gonna check who this is, and it was none other than North Carolina's Amarian Hampton. That means the American Conference is on the verge of losing a life, but Frank Harris picks up the first, and I feel like the UTSA quarterback's done a pretty good job in this game so far as he breaks a tackle. Now it's 2nd and 6, and on this play he has plenty of time to find a receiver on the sideline, which he would do again on the next one, getting them down to like the 25-yard line. Now he's going to escape the pocket, and he is going to lose the football in the process. That play alone is going to lose the American Conference this game against the ACC, but they put up a good fight, and I can already tell that this is going to be a great video. Jordan Travis had a decent first performance, but his team's defense is the reason that the American Conference is down to just 2 lives, and I'm sure that they don't love already giving away a part of their territory. We have a long way to go though before our conference takes over the entire United States, and we are headed back to the wheel where this time it's going to take us over to Conference USA. Obviously, they're going to be one of the underdogs in this video, so drawing the Big Ten is pretty unlucky, but in the tournament video I did, we saw this roster put up some good fights, so we'll see if these 3 guys can help them pull off the upset. They're going up against a 99 overall team, so to hold them to just 27 points is actually impressive, but they have not been able to score themselves, and that touchdown comes a bit too late. They still need to get another 10 points in just 16 seconds, and with that recovery of the onside kick, it's not happening, which means JJ McCarthy led the all Big Ten team to a win, and they might be the favorites in this since he has targets like Marvin Harrison Jr. to throw to. Since all conferences have 3 lives, it's going to be very hard to see an underdog come out on top of this, but at least it's not completely over for them the second that they drop a game, and I'm telling you all right now, you don't want this wheel to land on you. It means you're forced to attack on the road, and the Big Ten's playing again, with this one being against the Big 12, so we'll see how it goes. Going into it, they're both 99 overall teams, and the Big 12 has an amazing running back core, so we'll see if that's enough to keep them on all 3 lives, and it's going to come down to the wire as the Big 12 is down by 7 with a minute left. Dillon Gabriel almost threw an interception there that definitely should have been caught by the Big 10, but because they dropped it, now they still have a chance, and that was a bad 3rd down play call. Now they still need another 4 yards on 4th down, and Dillon Gabriel almost took the sack. He finds Xavier Worthy at the last second, so somehow the Big 12 conference is not done yet, and that's a huge gain, going for like 30 yards. They're going to have to take a break and spike the ball, and I'm sure Longhorn fans are disgusted seeing Dillon Gabriel in a Texas jersey, but you all are on the same team in this, and that is going to be the game-ending pick. The Big 12 conference had 4 turnovers in this game, and that's going to be the reason that they lose to the Big 10. Jay Higgins himself had 2 interceptions, and it looks like he also forced a fumble while Denzel Burke had the other turnover. We all know how hard it's going to be for somebody to knock out the Big 10, especially since they have 3 lives, but there's other conferences like the Pac-12 and the SEC, which is why it's so hard to predict which conference will come out on top. The wheel is now landed on the MAC conference, with this spin taking us to the Southeast, so unfortunately for them, they have to play against the ACC, but the American Conference competed with them, so maybe the MAC will be able to as well. Well, it's safe to say that this wasn't even close at all, with it being a 33-point game, but that's because the ACC got off to a hot start, and Daquan Finn just didn't play well, while Jordan Travis had a great game. It's not looking good for the MAC, who already didn't have that much land, but losing some does mean that it's going to be harder to land on them, and I think that's what's going to make this video come down to the wire. It looks like the Sun Belt was the next conference to get landed on, and they could have had a decent draw, but instead they get the Big 12, so they're being forced to go on the road, and they have an 87 overall defense, but their offense just isn't good. Those ratings have kept them in this game though, and on 3rd and 12 they handed it off, so my guess is they're going to settle for a field goal, but I guess they're not, and instead they're going for it on this 4th down where Jordan McLeod throws it straight to him. I don't know what the James Madison quarterback was thinking there, but he needed to put some more zip on the ball, and it looks like the Big 12's actually passing here, which is going to get them the first. Now it's just going to come down to if the Sun Belt Conference can stop the run, and they're stacking the box pretty well, which means they should have had some success here, but Dillon Gabriel's faked them out, and that's going to seal the game for the Big 12. I can't believe they only put up 7 points, but that's all you really need whenever the Sun Belt's offense isn't able to get anything going, and we have another smaller conference being moved over to the 2 lives column. Luckily for them though, that result doesn't affect their territory that much, and I'm curious what conference is going to be the first one with just 1 life. It can't be the Independents since they haven't played a game yet, and they're literally trapped in by the ACC, so this is the only team they can play. You would think that they'd just be set up for for failure, but because most of their roster consists of Notre Dame's team, they're not that bad. And with 48 seconds left, this one has literally come down to the wire. With Sam Hartman threading the needle there, they've gotten inside the 30-yard line against the ACC, but that was a wasted down and they're about to waste another. So it's already 3rd and 7 where he's going to float this ball straight into the hands of Cameron Ross. I'm pretty sure he's one of Connecticut's wide receivers and he did really good in the last video I did with these teams, but that was such a wasted play from the Independents, as it is now 3rd and goal and they hand this one off to Audric Estime. They still have 1 timeout remaining, but they've hurried it up for this final snap. It is 4th and goal. Will the ACC hold here? Sam Hartman breaks the sack. He gets the ball out, but it's swatted down. And how did the Independence Conference not win that game? I mean, they're not really a conference, but they are a team in this video. And the fact that they just choked that is really embarrassing. Losing land there doesn't change anything either, because the only team they can play is still the ACC. And we're just headed back to the wheel now where the MAC has been landed on again. The smaller conferences in this video have gotten shredded so far. And if the MAC wouldn't have lost land earlier on, they'd be up against Conference USA, but instead it's the Big Ten. I think losing again would help them though, because they'd be such a small territory that they probably wouldn't be landed on for a while, but they seem to have other ideas, as somehow it is a 2-point game with a minute and a half left, and that's probably all because of Toledo quarterback Daquan Finn. I can't remember where he transferred, but because of how well he did in real life, he's going to be playing for a Power 4 team during this next season, and there's a chance that he could lead the MAC conference to an upset in this game over the Big Ten. I don't think they really want to start this battle though by taking all their land, but we'll see what happens. And of course they committed a false start before they could snap it again. That's going to set them back 5 yards, so it doesn't really help them. He's also about to take a sack, and I couldn't tell you if the MAC conference is in field goal range or not, but that should do the trick. From here they should just chew the clock and then go ahead and kick the game-winning field goal, and of course they have to spike the ball to stop it. That is going to leave the Big Ten a little bit of time though, and I think this is the longest it's ever taken for us to get an upset in an Imperialism video. We all know that JJ McCarthy's not about to throw it like 70 yards down the field, but this throw is going to get to like the 10-yard line. It is caught, and Isaiah Williams was tackled like a yard short. The MAC conference literally almost blew that game, but somehow they survived and pulled off the upset, and I can't believe that the Big Ten's joining them in the 2-loss category. That one result has put the MAC back on the map, and the smallest territory is still the American. That was an incredible result. It's literally changed how this is going to play out, and we've yet to see the Mountain West Conference play where they're headed out west. That's going to give us a showdown between them and the Pac-12, and I don't think you can count the Mountain West out of this one just because of their offense. It's a 91 overall, which gives them a decent chance, but they were only able to put up 14 points versus the Pac-12, and Chevin Cordero got sacked a ton. When you combine that with the fact that Bo Nix had 3 touchdowns and no interceptions, it's going to be hard for the underdog to come out on top there, and the poor conference is surrounded by 3 pretty big ones. That means it's going to be very hard for them to get lucky in this, and luck is clearly not on their side as they've been landed on again, with this one forcing them to attack the Big Ten. I don't see how this could go any better for them, but we did just witness the Big Ten getting upset by the MAC conference, and you would think that would be a wake-up call for them, but they are tied up with a minute and a half left. How this 3rd and inches goes will really determine how the rest of this unfolds though, and it looks like the Mountain West easily picks it up, but something else I noticed is their starting quarterback wasn't in there. That means there's a freshman out there on the field trying to help him win, and his offensive line is not doing him any favors, but he still completes this pass, putting the Mountain West Conference in field goal range. Now they have a guy going over in motion, and I would assume that if they just play this smart, not taking any sacks, they're going to get the win over the Big Ten. However, you all are going to absolutely hate this, and it's the fact that the computer has glitched out. They didn't hike the ball until there was only 8 seconds left, so this play can't take too long, and they just fumbled it away to the Big Ten. That was the exact stop they needed there, and this game's going to overtime because of that, but it's not even the Mountain West's clock management's fault. They are going to get the interception, but I'm assuming they're not going to return it, and we will see how things unfold in overtime with a backup. They had their chance, but he fumbled it away, and it's going to cost them, because now it's 3rd and 17, and I kind of just feel bad for anybody that is rooting for the Mountain West Conference. Plenty of time back there though to deliver a dot, and that touchdown might have just changed everything. It puts immediate pressure on JJ McCarthy in this Big Ten offense, who is about to get the first. So maybe it is a little bit too soon to count out the Mountain West Conference, but they're going to let them get this, and it seems like the Big Ten's about to cruise to the easy game tying touchdown. Now it's 2nd and goal where Blake Corum's going to take it into the end zone, but they're going to have to do that again, and on this first play that should have been picked. I don't know who Tafasi Jr. plays for, but that is the linebacker on the Mountain West All-Conference team that just cost them the game, because even if they're able to hold the Big Ten to a field goal here, which it looks like they are going to do, they're going to need a touchdown to win, which never comes very easy. You can't say that the Mountain West Conference didn't have a chance in this one though, and I'm pretty confident that if they had Chevin Cordero out there on the field, they'd win this game. Without him though, they seem lost offensively, and on 3rd and 12, they're going to go to pick it up, but it's going to be picked off by, I think, Cooper DeJean, and the Mountain West is going to lose because their freshman quarterback turned it over twice at the end. JJ McCarthy's very lucky that they got out of there with that result, because it very easily could have been his team instead of the Mountain West being moved over to the 1 life column. column. And even with the Mountain West losing more territory, they're still stuck between the 3 Power 5 conferences. Unfortunately for them, I think they're going to be the first team to go, but it could also be the Independents if they can't beat the ACC here. And there was no reason for spinning the wheel. There's nowhere else for them to go. The last time these two teams played, it was a classic. And now Sam Hartman has been gifted another opportunity to redeem himself against them. To be honest, that was a great play from him there, avoiding the sack and putting this ball perfectly on the money, but it was dropped. And there's nothing he can do about that. It was Anthony Simpson who wasn't able to bring it in, but he's been their best receiver. And I've never heard that name before in my life, which tells you about the guys that he is working with. There's just not that many independent schools, and it looks like he's going to take the sack. So that really hurts their chances here, because the odds of going down the field and getting a touchdown in 30 seconds isn't high. And his offensive line has started to sell here at the end of the game. That's not going to be enough, which means the ACC still has 3 lives. I feel like they've already played 5 times, but that's not hurt them at all, and the Independents are joining the Mountain West Conference in this column. They've literally just been backed up into a corner, and you would think with their positioning they'd make it super deep in this, but that hasn't been the case so far, and the MAC is going to be going to the south. They were very close to lucking out playing Conference USA, but that just touches the tip here, so they're going to have to attack the ACC, and they've been the one conference trying to take out all the other small ones. They seem to like to give their opponents a chance though, because that's what the MAC conference has with a minute left in this game, and it always hurts to knock it out of bounds. They're going to need to pull off a deep play or something if they want to have a chance here, and that ball is going to be put on the money. So Daquan Finn really is keeping this team alive in this Imperialism, and he's going straight for the end zone where it's caught. I don't know how Newton was able to bring that in, but he just made back-to-back incredible catches for his team, and all their defense has to do is keep them out of field goal range, which shouldn't be too hard if they're handing it off to Amari and Hampton. Now Jordan Travis throws it though, and that's knocked down. He must have had a pretty bad day if his team only has 17 points at this point in the game, and Jamari Thrash was a yard short there, so it's 4th and 1 where this is gonna be short as well. The ACC just lost to the MAC conference, and that means the MAC has now beaten both them and the Big Ten. I don't know how Daquan Finn's doing it, but if there's any hope for the small conferences, it's gonna be because of him, and now they're in a position to get a good draw against Conference USA. It's still too early to tell who's gonna come out on top of this, but the SEC has got to get involved at some point in the future, because they still haven't had to play yet, and this wheel takes us to the Southeast. It's gonna miss the SEC though and just go into the American, so another team's about to be on one life, and this is a great chance for both of these teams to bounce back. Well, it has come down to the wire, just like most of the other matchups we've spectated, and I love how competitive these all-conference teams have been with each other. Caden Salter's throwing it, and that's Liberty's quarterback in real life, but he probably transferred this offseason as well, and on 3rd and 2, he's going with a deep shot that's out of bounds. The All-American team could end the game right here, and they just got a bit of help as well, because somebody on Conference USA's offensive line had a false start, and we just witnessed an offensive line hand the game to another team. Frank Harris was determined to get the win here though, because he didn't want his team to fall into the one-loss column, and they've been able to gain back some land, but it just makes them a bigger target. Now if this wheel lands on the SEC, they're probably playing the American, and I literally just called it. We'll see where this ends up pointing, but it went out west, which pins them against the Sun Belt instead. There's a chance that this is going to be over before halftime, but you never know. We have seen some crazy upsets, and we're just not witnessing one today, as this one was never even a contest. The only thing that could come back to bite the SEC is Cody Schrader starts over Judkins on this team, but it's all based on the real-life All-SEC team, and it's starting to look pretty bad for some of our smaller conferences. Besides the MAC, the underdogs have been struggling quite a bit, but that was expected, especially when you give everybody 3 lives, and with this wheel spin, we're going to be taken over to the East. Well, it was about time that we got some bigger matchups like this one, and remember, the Big 12's already lost one of their lives, so they can't afford to mess up this attack against the SEC. They have set themselves up pretty well with this much time left in the game. They're getting the tutty, so that puts them up by 4, but they also would love to get this 2-point conversion and just run for it there. Dylan Gabriel waited a little bit too long, and he's given Jaden Daniels 3 minutes to get a touchdown. It's already 3rd and inches though, and he's going to keep this one to make sure they pick up the first, so the drive stays alive, and it looks like they want to run the ball a lot. I think if you have Jaden Daniels, you just got to air it out, but that hasn't been the case until they went with it on this play, and that was Anias Smith who plays for Texas A&M. I'm pretty sure I'm correct about that, but I could be wrong. They're going to check it down to get inside the 10, and this is where the Big 12 defense could make their stand against them, as they just held Judkins to 1 rushing yard. Cody Schrader gets nothing either, so they have just 2 plays to get 9 yards now, and that is going to be a check down that gets them only 5. The Big 12 needs a stop on 4th and goal so bad here, and they are going to get it, but the SEC still has a chance, because they have all 3 of their timeouts left, and they could get a safety, which they do, so the Big 12 just really messed up. If Barry and Brown's able to get the SEC a good return with this punt, they're set up very nicely, and they have 43 seconds plus 3 timeouts to get in field goal range, but they don't seem to want to hike the ball after that, and here's the first instance of the computer being so dumb with the outdated AI that they're going to lose. The SEC cannot win, and it's all because of bad clock management. We're like 2 months away from the new game, so that will be be fixed very soon. But until then, we have the Big 12 that got very lucky, getting a win that they probably shouldn't have over the SEC, and they're pushing back on all the territory that they just took from the Sun Belt. I think it's pretty impressive that we still have all 11 teams here, but as I'm saying that, Conference USA has been landed on, and the MAC has an opportunity to put them out for good. On paper though, Conference USA is better, so they might be able to survive this, and if they want to, they have got to keep them out of the end zone here, which might happen as it's 3rd and goal, and the MAC conference is not going to get there. I still don't know how they've pulled off 2 huge upsets, because they're in a tight one with Conference USA, and Caden Salter's going to complete that one for 10 yards. He's got 2 minutes to get his team down the field, which is definitely manageable assuming they keep doing this, but we've seen the MAC defense step up in other games, and they almost got the sack there. This is going to be dropped, but they could have ended it with an interception. Conference USA is 0 for 8 on 3rd downs in this game, and they're going to be 0 for 9 now, but they made this a 4th and manageable where they didn't hand it off. They faked everybody out, including myself, and I didn't even know that that play existed in NCAA football, and I've played so many games of it, so that impressed me. It looks like the sun is starting to go down as well, because I feel like it was just a lot brighter on the field, but that's kind of better for us because the mod is sometimes very blinding. They're going to get inside the 5, and I think we're about to have another overtime game. This halfback screen to Quentin Cooley gets them a couple more, but they still have to finish this drive off, and Caden Salter is going to throw an interception straight to the MAC conference. Their defense just clutched up big time there, and they've completely eliminated Conference USA. This is the first team that's being moved over to the eliminated category, and one thing you can't say is that Conference USA didn't have their chances to come out on top. With one conference missing from the map, we're still left with all of this, and the Pac-12 is the lone team that still has all 3 lives. Now the wheels landed on the American where they're being forced to go to the South, so I'm sure that they're not too thrilled about this, but if they could pull it off, it would really help them. Getting some of the SEC's territory would mean they could attack the Sun Belt potentially, but with just 30 seconds left, they're trailing by 16 points, so that's going to be almost impossible, and taking a sack there does not help at all. The American Conference actually has more total yards than the SEC in this game, but it has not paid off as they're down by this much still, and they would have to score almost instantly to even have a slight chance, but they don't. So Jaden Daniels has put them on just 1 life remaining. We'll open up things on the map though by letting them take Tennessee, and somebody's got to hand the Pac-12 a loss sometime soon. They're kind of just cruising through this as they've barely had to play, and I don't think there's a good draw that the MAC's able to get here. They have no choice but to play against the Big Ten again, and I highly doubt that they're going to pull this off twice. This is literally the exact same score as the last game we spectated, and it's about to end the same as well. So JJ McCarthy and the Big Ten get their revenge, and that means all the smaller conferences are now in the 1 life column. We also have to take away about half of the MAC's territory, and I feel like this is a fair way to distribute it, which does give a slight lane for there to be some other interesting matchups. Honestly, whoever knocks out the Mountain West is just going to be hurting themselves, and it could be the Big 12 here depending on where the arrow lands, which is exactly what's going to happen if they're able to get the win. They really need Chevin Cordero to stay healthy, and at least if they're going to go out, it'll be on their own territory. Well, the Big 12 made quick work of them, and this one was never even a contest. They didn't even score until the second half, and Chevin Cordero was healthy, but he did not play well like Dylan Gabriel. We knew this was probably coming though, so we'll just move them over to this column, and the Big 12's now lodged themselves between the Big 10 and the Pac-12. That just increases the chances of them having to play even more. So like I said, whoever knocks out the Mountain West isn't in a great position, and this might just be the end of multiple different teams on the board. At least the independent schools get to play this one at home, but they've only faced one conference in this Imperialism, and their overalls are pretty similar, so I'd expect them to win at least one. They might just do it here, as with a minute remaining, they have an 8-point lead over the ACC, and after spiking the ball, it is 3rd and 17 where Jordan Travis had almost no time back there. This is the best that we've seen this independent team play, and they're going to get the stop, so they're staying alive for a bit longer, and it's because Sam Hartman came out and did pretty well for once. He's kind of struggled in the other matchups, but the ACC is going to join them in this column, and that kind of makes me wonder if they're going to have an opportunity to knock them out. I know the ACC is surrounded by weaker teams, but they're on their last limb, and it was about time that the Pac-12 was forced to play again. If they're headed down south, the closest team to that's the Big 12, and the Pac-12 team isn't a 99, so they're going into this one with a slight disadvantage. However, they've still managed to have a 13-point lead with 90 seconds left, and they're also going to get the interception here, pretty much sealing it. So it's probably safe to say that Dylan Gabriel cost them that game, and they're going to join the ACC over in this column while the Pac-12 stays with 3 lives. To be entirely fair, they did have a really good position in this from the start, but now they're being forced to go up against some tougher conferences, and it lands on them again. They might have to play against the Big 12 again, but it could also be the Big 10, and they control so much territory I can't even fit both of theirs on the screen. This one result could vastly change how things shape out, but before we find out what conference that's going to be, a word from today's video sponsor, Prize Picks. With the NBA playoffs going on, this is a great time to get the app, and you can play in over 30 states, so there's a good chance that yours is eligible. Now, if you don't already know what Prize Picks is, on the app, all you do is simply pick between 2 to 6 players and higher or lower on their projections, but if I had to pick my personal favorite type of lineup to create, it would have to be the 2-player ones by far. Anyway, if you're not on PrizePicks already and you want some free cash to start out with, code BORD or the first link in my description will double your initial deposit up to $100. And now it's time to get back to conference imperialism. Well, with a minute and a half left, we see that the Big Ten's down by 5, so they're gonna have to reach the end zone if they want to win this game, and Roman Wilson gets the first. They still have plenty of time to reach the end zone, especially since they have 2 timeouts, but making mistakes like that certainly isn't going to help them, and they got in a free rusher there. He wasn't able to get to JJ McCarthy in time, but it was close, and that is going to be short. So it really seems like the Pac-12 is about to have all 3 of their lives still, but Blake Corum breaks the tackle. He almost got free, and if he didn't stumble over there, he might have reached the end zone. That is going to be intercepted. I don't know what JJ McCarthy was thinking, but that's going to seal the game, and his 2 turnovers cost his team, while on the other side of things, Bo Nix didn't turn it over once. It feels like it's happened so quick, but we're down to most of these teams only having 1 life left, and the Pac-12 just keeps on expanding. If they keep on winning, I don't know who's going to be able to knock them out, and the Big Ten's arrow is going to take them over to the Northwest. That means we're about to get a rematch between the Big Ten and the Pac-12, and if the Big Ten doesn't win, the entire conference is going to be knocked out. It looks like they are going to come out on top though, as they have a 10-point lead with a minute left, so it was only a matter of time before the Pac-12 decided to not play well for once, and they'd have to recover an onside kick even if they're able to reach the end zone here, so that really doesn't change much for them. It would be hilarious if the Big Ten wasn't able to hold on to this ball, but they are going to do so, which seals the win, and that was needed even if they're still not feeding Marvin Harrison Jr. that much. That might be one of the reasons that they've struggled, but at least the Pac-12 is over to the 2-life column, and I feel like the Big Ten deserves to take 4 different states from them. That's about a third of their land, and now the wheel's taken us to the independents, so we're getting one final battle between them and the ACC, and this will determine who comes out on top in the Northwest. The independents literally had the best starting point, but they've also been boxed in by a very tough conference, and with a few minutes left, they find themselves down by 3, but they are not out of imperialism yet. On 2nd and 4, it looks like they're going to send in a blitz, but Sam Hartman gets it out, and the ACC's defense has some great players up front like Jared Verse, so they don't need to stack the box. As long as the independents get into field goal range though, they'll be fine, and this is a crucial 3rd and 2 where they just handed it off. I don't even know who K'Ron Lynch Adams is, but he's been on the end of both those runs, so I don't know where Audric Esteme's been, but it looks like he's back out there on the field, and he just dropped the easiest ball ever. That makes it 3rd and 6 where Sam Hartman is going to throw it, and there's somebody wide open, but they're saying that he wasn't able to get a foot down in time, so the independents have sent Spencer Schrader out there on the field to tie it all up at 24. This one is setting up to go to overtime unless Jordan Travis can lead his team down the field, and that's a good start, picking up 10 yards. Now he's going to roll out into a sack, so you have to wonder how the ACC is going to handle this, and they hike that almost immediately. Now they'll probably take some time off the clock though, and that's exactly what they did, getting it under 20 seconds, which means we are going to go to overtime unless this is caught, and that's going to be picked off by the independents. I don't think they're going to get a return, but they did break 1 tackle, and he is still going to midfield. We know that Spencer Schrader can hit it from deep, so if they pick up 15 yards here, that might just end the game, and I think we just witnessed the ACC choking in the final seconds. They're going to have to return this kickoff for a touchdown if they don't want to lose, but that is not going to happen, and I can't believe they just got eliminated off of that. This is the defensive player that won it for them though, and the first Power 5 conference to go is the ACC. At the start of this entire thing, it looked like they were just going to knock out the independents by themselves, but looking back on it now, that was clearly not the case. And now we're headed back to the wheel where it's going to land on the SEC. There's a decent chance that somebody's about to get eliminated here, and it could be the Big 12 if they're not able to defend their home field. Having 2 lives right now is a huge advantage because no matter what happens, the SEC is good, and all Jaden Daniels has to do with a minute and a half left is get his team into field goal range. That shouldn't be too difficult for the Heisman winning quarterback, and he's just going to find Brock Bowers on this play, which is going to set up a 3rd and 2 that Cody Schrader is going to pick up. All they needed was a new set of downs, and he gets it out in time again with this backup tight end going for 20 yards. So they're setting up very nicely to be in field goal range, and he throws this one off of his back foot, but it's dropped. The Big 12 really needed to hold on there because it's probably over if they get even just 5 more yards, and there's so much time, but it's going to be fumbled, and the SEC could be crumbling. Now they're not hiking the ball, so that one mistake caused them to panic. This is now the final play of the game, and they keep getting messed up with stuff like that happening to them. It's going to be picked off by the Big 12 anyway, and I cannot believe they just survived there. Both of these conferences only have 1 life now, and Dylan Gabriel is able to do it again again, making conferences that are set up to win it all start to struggle a bit. I have to appreciate how interesting he's making things, and the only team that's not on one life now is the Pac-12. If they lose again though, they'd be in the same position as everybody else, and the Big Ten's almost the only team that they'd even be able to face. Even with 3 lives, everything's evening out at the end, so it would make sense for the Big Ten to get a win here, but that wasn't what happened, as this entire game wasn't even a contest. There was literally nothing exciting about it, and I don't know why it took the Big Ten 3 quarters to score, because their offense didn't perform badly. That means one of the favorites though to win the entire thing has been eliminated, and currently the Pac-12 controls like half of the United States territory. I was wrong about the smaller conferences not making it to the end, because as the wheels avoided them, they've actually stuck around really nicely. And once again, we have a Power 5 matchup with the Big 12 being the closest opponent. If they can't win here, this could be the end for them, but they have the home field advantage on their side, and it's kind of crazy that they have a chance to take a lead with 3 minutes left in this one. The reason for that is because it took them until the second half to score, but something must have happened in that locker room, because they've been able to hold the Pac-12 scoreless and score 21 straight at the same time. Bo Nix is literally crumbling under pressure, and I can't believe he's the starter over Michael Penix, but that was how the Pac-12 named their all-conference team. And here on 3rd and 6, he is going to pump fake and then roll out, throw it off of his back foot straight to the Big 12. I don't know what that play design was, but it might have just cost the Pac-12 the game. They do have all 3 of their timeouts, so they could get the ball back, but it doesn't seem like that's likely, as Dillon Gabriel gets 20, and they're saying he wasn't knocked out of bounds, so they had to burn their first of 3 timeouts. Where's the run D? I mean, you would assume they'd just send a ton at them, but they are destroying them on the ground, and from here there's nothing they can do. The Big 12 have won. I cannot believe that every team is down to 1 life, but it's all thanks to Dillon Gabriel, because he set us up for an extremely even finish to this Imperialism. The problem he might run into though is he's probably going to have to face off against the Pac-12 again, and at some point the smaller conferences have got to take the field. I mean, it was about time that the wheel landed on one of them, and this is a close call, but we're getting the MAC versus the Independents. They pulled off 2 upsets already, so this is manageable, but if they want to come out on top, they're going to have to bring their A game, and we have made it to the 4th quarter with it being a very low scoring matchup. That first down's going to help out the MAC though, but not as much as you'd think, because a couple plays later it was 3rd and 15, and they'd have to punt it back to the Independents, which pinned them inside the 5. Clearly both offenses have struggled throughout this game though, and Sam Hartman has got to be throwing it on 3rd and 5 where he almost took the sack, but somehow he got it out in time, and the fact that his receiver was also able to bring it in is amazing. I've already said in this Imperialism that he is not working with the best of receivers besides Audric Estime and Chris Tyree, so he's going to have to feed his 2 teammates, even though one of them is a running back and the other used to be as well. That is a stop for the MAC conference though, and I guess the Independents must trust their defense, but I feel like punting it back to them in this situation is just a bad decision. All it takes is a couple of big runs and this game is going to be completely over. That's a great stiff arm, but now they're coming out in 5 wide and Daquan Finn is passing, not running the ball here, so that could have worked if he just hit his target, and on 3rd and 4 he throws an interception. Daquan Finn might have just sold this game for his conference, but there's still about 2 minutes left and Sam Hartman is going to get about a yard, except they're not saying he's down, so he gets a couple more. All of that effort there just put the Independents in field goal range no matter what, but they're going to get the first either way. And we've seen Spencer Schrader hit from farther, so the MAC defense better do something. I thought they just forced a fumble there. I don't know why they're still passing. It looks like Sam Hartman is going to throw it away, but what they're doing if they don't pick up this 3rd and 10 is giving the MAC a chance, and it looks like Spencer Schrader is going to hit this one straight down the middle with a ton of room. Like I said, he was never going to miss that, but there's also still an opportunity for Daquan Finn to redeem himself, and the MAC has competed really well for being a lower overall team. They really don't have much on this roster besides their quarterback that gives them an opportunity. This is going to go out of bounds, so that's a huge help for getting into field goal range, and on this next play they need to get out of bounds again. I've never seen the computer act this smart before with this AI, but that was almost picked. And here on 2nd and 10, Daquan Finn has plenty of time to just get a couple more yards. That's not good. I'm surprised that they didn't use one of their 2 timeouts there. Now they're going to take it to about the 43, but this is not in their kicker's range, so they need to pick something up on this one, and they're going for the end zone, which is gonna be caught or dropped. I really thought somebody held on to that ball, and it looks like it did come down into the hands of one of these players, but nobody was able to just bring it in. So the MAC's entire run comes down to this one play where Daquan Finn gets it out in time, and that is gonna be dropped. I didn't think the Independents would stay alive this long, but at this point they could be a team that makes it all the way, because so far whenever things have mattered they seem to take care of business. They're also in a pretty good position to rarely get landed on, so even though the SEC, the Big 12, and the Pac-12 are still alive, don't count them out. I really just like seeing the underdogs come out on top. It's landing on the Sun Belt, so most likely this is going to be where they get put out, and there was no way for them to get a good draw here. It's definitely going to be an uphill battle, but it's not one that's impossible either, and I cannot believe the position they are in with 2.5 minutes left in this this game. They have more first downs than the Big 12. I mean, it makes sense for them to be winning, but I just didn't see it coming. And James Madison quarterback Jordan McLeod shouldn't have taken a sack there. They are being really smart about this though, turning on 2 clock, and I guess they're just going to settle for a field goal. They're going to trust their defense with a minute left in this game. Dylan Gabriel's already getting them 15, and the Big 12 conference still has 2 timeouts left as well, so they should be fine. Their tight end is going to get 5, but they're not taking a timeout yet. They've immediately hurried it up, and I think we have another close game that could be ruined by the computer taking it down to just 8 seconds left. I mean, they were very lucky to get in field goal range with that pass. They're going to hit the kick, so the Big 12 is probably going to survive, but they just ran the clock down to like 10 seconds before hiking the ball. And I know there's a mod that'll fix it, but I cannot find it in the College Football Revamped Discord server. This is the end of the game though. The Big 12 has come out on top over the Sun Belt, and Jordan McLeod did his best there. I wasn't expecting it to even be close, so at least we can say they put up a good fight. And another team has now fallen to Dylan Gabriel in this Imperialism. They didn't have much land, so this isn't going to change that much. And here are the final 5 conferences standing in Imperialism. If there's any underdogs left, it's either the American or the Independents, and I'm pretty sure there's only one way that this wheel spin can go. We're getting one final battle between the Pac-12 and the Big 12, and these 2 conferences have gone back and forth. Only one team can move on to the next round now, and it could be either of these teams. Bo Nix has it in his hand with a minute left, but he just took a very rough sack. Now they're sending in more pressure. The Big 12 is going to get the interception out of it, and I guess it was the right decision to send pressure because it made Bo Nix mess up, and I cannot believe that the Pac-12 choked the lead that they had during this Imperialism. That's not going to work out, or maybe it will, but it's still not possible for them to come back down by 10 points, and that means the Big 12's made it to the Final Four. They're about to take over a ton of land, and we can just go ahead and drop the Pac-12 into this category. This entire map's about to look completely different, and I think it's crazy how little territory that the SEC and the American Conference have right now. They haven't won much though, and this time it's landing on the American, so they're going to be forced to attack somebody, and it's going to be up north. Well, only one of these 2 teams can make it to the next round, and it is a pretty even matchup, so I'm sure the independent schools are thankful to have the home field advantage. I mean, it's done absolutely nothing for them as they've given up 42 points, but they've tried their best to come back, rebounding decently well here throughout the entire 4th quarter, and it's just a little bit too late. I don't know why their offense was so bad up until this point in the game, but after seeing that, my guess would be the wide receivers, and their defense has allowed over 500 total yards of offense as well, so it was just a really rough day. I wasn't expecting the American Conference to win, but knowing that Blake Watson rushed for over 200 yards, it makes more sense, combined with the fact that Frank Harris was solid too. This last category just keeps on shrinking, and the Northeast region is now completely covered in pink. I don't know why I gave the American that color, but that's what they got, and they automatically make the championship if they don't get landed on here, but there's still a chance the SEC's arrow could point towards them, and that means the Big 12 has automatically made it. This is for the other spot, and it's going to be tough, but you can't count out any conference if they've gotten this far, and with a minute left in this first half, it is 0-0. Nobody has been able to score a single point, so the SEC is thirsty for something to happen here, and it looks like Jaden Daniels is going to throw it out of bounds. Iowa fans are loving this matchup so far, but they might not be now that the American Conference is able to move the ball, because this has been too much offense to start the 3rd quarter, and they're trying to make a statement. They really need to get a touchdown here though, because they haven't gotten this far down the field yet, and that's a bad play, which means it's going to be tied up at 3 in the 3rd quarter, and I couldn't tell you why the SEC's offense has been so bad. They have so many different studs on this team. After punting it back to the American though, they've been moving it down the field, and Frank Harris isn't going to complete this, but there's not much he can do about that. His receiver was guarded well, and we're going to go into the 4th quarter with nobody scoring a touchdown. I'm just in disbelief that we could have this low scoring of a game, but the SEC did not come to play, and that would be really embarrassing if they lost this game. I figured it was probably going to be a blowout, but it's been the complete opposite of that, and what a shock. The second that they start the pass, they do better offensively. That was a huge hit stick from Jaden Daniels, but he is still way better through the air, and they're just running it again and again. That makes it 3rd and 9, where he is going to get this one out, and it looks like the American corner was able to stick with him. They're going to get the interception, so that is the 3rd turnover for the SEC, and there's just 4 minutes left on the clock now. The American Conference could win this game. Here on 2nd and 6, Frank Harris is going to hand it off again, so he's being forced to pass on 3rd down, and that's what he's going to do, finding Luke McCaffrey. The Rice wide receiver just made a big difference. They're also going to bring this one in, so the clock is going to continue to run, and there's a chance that the SEC never sees the ball again. It all depends on how this 3rd and 4 goes though, and they have plenty of time to find somebody open, which means with 2 minutes left, the SEC only has 1 timeout left, and why are they passing the ball in this situation? I mean, it worked, and they iced the game if the computer manages this right, but I don't trust that they're going to do that considering they're running the ball, and all they have to do is take QB knees, and they cannot be passing on 3rd and 2. I mean, it worked out for them, but that could have been a terrible decision. The fact that the American Conference won that game is stunning, especially since they only kicked field goals, but something must have clicked defensively as they forced Jaden Daniels to throw 2 interceptions, and they held the run well, so we'll see how they do against the Big 12 in the final game of this Imperialism. Getting the home field advantage there seemed to help them out a ton. So whichever team is attacking is probably a big deal, and it's the Big 12, but there's no reason for me to spin this arrow. We all know that it all comes down to this, and I would have only predicted one of these two conferences to be here. If the American could pull this off though, that would be incredible. And the Big 12 elected to have the ball first, where on this 3rd and 2, they are going to fall short. This might end up being another defensive game, and on 3rd and 2, Blake Watson's going to catch the pitch to pick up the first down. So as this drive continues, the American offense is already looking better, and that's a great throw to the end zone. Jamori Macklin was able to reel that one in, and the Big 12 better get it together quick because this is more points than they had last week. It only took one drive for the American Conference to outdo what they were able to do to the SEC, but their defense is playing the exact same way, and this is how they had to start this game off if they wanted to pull off the upset. They keep completing passes as they've now been able to cross midfield, but that's going to be intercepted by the Big 12. They needed a defensive stand, and I don't know what Frank Harris was thinking. If he was a little bit more patient there, they could have gone up by 2 possessions, but that wasn't the case, and on this 3rd and 4, it looks like Dylan Gabriel is going to help his team pick it up. From what we've been able to see so far, I would assume the American Conference defense is good, but not good enough to force Dylan Gabriel to make a mistake like that, and that penalty was actually on the American Conference. I'm a little bit confused because it looks like the Big 12 lost yards, but the defensive PI helped them out a bit, setting up a 3rd and 10 where Dylan Gabriel is going to get it out, but not far enough. I don't know why they're doing so bad, but their offense is genuinely struggling against this American Conference defense, and they have another opportunity to get some points, but then the Big 12 stepped up. I've never been more interested in watching a punt and spectating this, but it could pin them back inside the 5, and they didn't get the roll that they were hoping for, but the Big 12 still has a lot of work to do. Ollie Gordon did rush for the first though, and now Drake Stoops takes it for a couple more, so we might be witnessing the Big 12 starting to figure things out. And what are you doing? Dylan Gabriel must have seen a baddie in the stands or something. I don't know why he wouldn't run forward, but the American Conference defense got another stop, and that should be a fumble. I'm stunned that the ref said that was an incomplete pass, but they're handing it off on 3rd and 6, and how do you let Blake Watson pick that up? They need to start throwing it. There's only 2 minutes left on the clock now. Frank Harris is going to get a few, but they're very close to being forced to punt it right back to them, and that's what's going to happen. With a minute left in the first half, the Big 12 has got to take advantage of this opportunity, and it looks like they're trying to, coming out in 5 wide, but Dylan Gabriel's just going to run instead of pass here, and it works. I didn't think the computer was going to be smart enough to get out of bounds there, but they did, and unless they turn the ball over, the Big 12's gotten at least a field goal here, but I'm sure that they're going to want more, and they just sent a blitz at them, which did not work out in their favor. I don't know why the American Conference did that, but they allowed things to be tied up at the half, and their offense is starting to stall out. They had such a strong start, but now they're starting to struggle, and that is going to almost be picked, so that would have been really bad for the American Conference, but instead they get to punt the ball back and rely on their defense to stop Ollie Gordon, which they didn't do on that play, giving up the first, but they're going to pick off Dylan Gabriel, and that is a huge turnover. They're starting this drive at midfield, so surely they're going to come away with some points here, but it's like they want to lose the game at the same time. Frank Harris just tried to give it to TJ Tampa. He's going to break a tackle here. He needs to pitch it though. That's going to be a fumble, and there's no way that they just turned it over like that. The Big 12 got the ball where they needed to, and they seem to be putting together a good drive, so it's looking more and more likely that they're going to come out on top of this championship, and they should continue to keep it on the ground because it's working out really well for them. Ollie Gordon gets in, but they responded back with a 75-yard touchdown, and I don't want anything else like that to accidentally happen, so we're watching every other play, no more simming. The 75-yard touchdown was exactly what the American Conference needed though, because they've tied things up at 14 with a minute left in the 3rd quarter, and there might only be a couple of drives left in this game. Here on 2nd and 12, Ollie Gordon is going to take it for 4 or 5, but the American Conference could easily get the Big 12 off of the field, and that's what they're going to do. They're set up nicely going into the 4th quarter until the punt pinned them inside the 5-yard line, and this rush is going to get them out of danger zone. Blake Watson is carrying the offense right now, so they're going to continue to feed it to the Memphis running back, and if he doesn't play for Memphis, then I'm just dumb. I'm almost certain that he does, but I can't think of an instance this year where I wanted to watch American Conference football, so I don't know that many of these players, and on 3rd and 1, they're going to get it. They were the first team to lose in this Imperialism, and I just assumed that they would never make it this far, but I was wrong. Now they're going to keep it on the ground again, which is working out really well for them, but they are going to pass on 3rd and 2, and they convert it. This could legitimately be the drive that sets them up to win the entire thing. So the Big 12 desperately needed a play like that from Kobe Bryant, and it looks like on 3rd and 4, they're going to pass it where there was plenty of time to complete it. If the American Conference is smart about how they handle this, the Big 12 is never going to see the ball again, but they're coming out in 5 wide when they really don't need to, and it's a good thing they handed it off. They're also going to break 2 tackles, so they're putting up an amazing fight, and I see a wide open running back in the flat, but they went for the deeper play. It's honestly going to really hurt them if they're only able to get a field goal out of this drive, and that was almost picked. So TJ Tampa dropping the ball has cost the Big 12 twice now, but with a minute and a half left, they still have plenty of time to at least tie things up, and they had 2 chances to catch that interception. I do not know what Dylan Gabriel was thinking there. That was such a bad read. This halfback screen only gets gets them a couple. So now it's 3rd and 9. They still haven't burned one of their 3 timeouts, and they're about to take a sack. They honestly need to just punt the ball here, but it might be smarter to just go for it, and the American Conference sent some pressure. Now all they have to do is pick up one more first down, and this thing is completely over. They're fighting, but the Big 12 has timeouts, so they could still hold them to a field goal and get the ball back, which looks like what's about to happen. Blake Watson is only going to get like 5, and this has been an amazing ending to this imperialism. 33 seconds left on the clock. They're going to take out the kickoff just to see if they can get a little bit of luck, but that did not work out for them. And there's no way that the computer manages these final 30 seconds well. That's a terrible play. They just wasted half of their time, and they need to be sending up deep balls, but they're going with the halfback screen instead, and that does kind of work, but not if they're just going to spike the ball when the clock is already stopped, and you have to hurry up and do it. One thing I do know is the new college football game is going to have way better AI, which is going to make these videos even better, and I have a feeling they're not going to get this spike off. I've seen it happen before, and that's exactly what happened, but they're saying there was a second left, so this is all going to come down to a Hail Mary, and Dylan Gabriel has enough time to get it up in the air. That's going to be caught, and there's no way the American Conference just lost right there. That is the craziest championship ending ever. And how do you lose on a Hail Mary? I didn't think the Big 12 could actually do that, but Dylan Gabriel deserves this championship, and we're going to have to rewatch that Hail Mary. This just doesn't make sense from the computer. They have one defender back there on the final play, and shout out to Brennan Presley for winning it all for the Big 12. We were so close to having an underdog win, but it never happens, and we just have to go ahead and erase the American Conference from the map. At the end of the day, the Big 12 is considered the best conference, and I can't remember if they won the tournament video I did or not either, but make sure to go ahead and check that one out if you haven't seen it already.